Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is, well, it's very specific. We're tackling a challenge that lands on the desk of every principal. Where do we find the curriculum time for a skill like handwriting?
Especially when the timetable is already bursting, isn't it?
Exactly. You're trying to prioritize literacy, maths, science, and of course digital skills. It feels like there's just no room.
And that's a completely valid constraint. The pressure on instructional minutes is immense. But, the goal of this deep dive isn't to just squeeze in another period.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's about reframing the whole conversation. We want to shift handwriting from being seen as a nice-to-have subject into an essential academic lever, something that lifts performance across the board.
An academic lever. I like that. So let's unpack that. In a world driven by keyboards, why must we dedicate focused time to penmanship? What are the actual stakes?
The stakes are incredibly high. The best way to think about it is something we found in the source material. Handwriting is language by hand.
Language by hand.
Yes, it's a physical act. And if that physical act is difficult or slow, it directly gets in the way of learning and, crucially, examination success.
So you're saying the tool they use to express their knowledge becomes the bottleneck, not the knowledge itself.
Precisely. For a student in a timed exam, the physical process of writing has to be effortless, legible, and, most importantly, fast. It needs what we call automaticity.
Automaticity, yes.
Think of it like driving a manual car. If you have to think about every single gear change, you can't focus on the road ahead.
You can't focus on the traffic.
Exactly. If a student is dedicating all their mental bandwidth to just forming the letters, that energy is stolen from complex thought.
So the physical struggle to write actually saps the energy needed for, say, analysis in history or problem solving in physics.
That's it in a nutshell. When the cognitive load is high, the brain has to prioritize. If writing is hard, students might shorten their answers, or the quality of their thinking just degrades because they are, quite literally, fighting with the pen.
And can you give us a concrete example of that beyond just an English essay?
Oh, absolutely. Look at maths or science. A poorly formed 4 can look like a 9. A 1 can look like a 7. That leads to simple calculation errors.
Right.
Or in a science diagram, if the labeling is illegible, it undermines the entire explanation. The teacher has to first become a detective before they can be an evaluator.
And that brings us to the teachers, doesn't it? The immediate benefit for the staff.
A huge benefit. The efficiency gain is something you can't overstate. Better handwriting means easier and faster corrections. For every single subject teacher, that's a direct return on investment.
Which in turn boosts the school's academic reputation.
It does. Visible progress in student notebooks, better presentation in mock exams. It's a powerful signal of quality, which of course helps with new admissions.
Now, before we even talk about cursive and flow, the sources mention building a robust foundation. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means you can't build on shaky ground. Structured training starts with the absolute basics. The correct motor patterns, how to hold the pen, where to place the paper.
So we're talking about muscle memory in the hand.
Exactly. Things like Graphia tools, for instance, are essentially physical guides. They help a child's hand learn the correct grip until it becomes second nature. You have to get that right before you can even think about connecting letters.
Okay, so we've established the why. It's a massive cognitive lever. But now for the toughest question from an administrator. Why can't teachers just fix this as they go along?
You mean, sort of, correct a bad pen grip during a social studies lesson?
Yes. Why do we need that dedicated sacred block of time every week?
Because that touches directly on motor learning theory. Handwriting's a physical skill, an embodied skill. It's more like learning a tennis serve or a chord on a guitar.
It's not just an idea you can grasp in a minute.
No, it needs physical repetition for those neural pathways to form. Trying to fix it with scattered corrections is ineffective for two main reasons.
And what are they?
First, context switching. If a student is deep in thought about a history essay and you pull them out to talk about their pen grip, you're disrupting their flow. Second, you're breaking the skill development chain.
The chain of development, what does that look like?
It's a sequence. It has to be. You need practice with guidance from the teacher. Then practice without guidance, which is the homework. Then you need error identification and specific practice to correct those errors.
So it's a cycle. And for that cycle to work, you need routine. 5 minutes here and there just won't cut it.
It won't. Consistency is the non-negotiable part. Without it, the skill never stabilizes, and it certainly won't transfer into the high-pressure environment of an exam hall. And the sources are quite clear. Mornings are best for this, when the mind is fresh.
That brings us to the most practical part of this, the how. A principal is listening and they agree, but they still have that finite timetable. What are the workable models?
Okay, the preferred model, the one that any structured program like Writewiz would recommend, is 2 focus periods per week.
Two periods.
Yes, that's really the sweet spot for building the muscle memory you need for long-term retention.
And that's the point where an administrator might say, I can't cut physics or English to do that.
I know. And the argument is you're not cutting them. You're installing the operating system that makes them run better. But look, if 2 periods is genuinely impossible, there are workable alternatives.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first is a mix of class and home practice. So 1 dedicated period per week, but you combine that with 2 structured mandatory handwriting homework sessions.
Right.
The other option is about using micro-moments. Again, 1 period per week, but you supplement it with maybe 10 minutes of motor skill exercises or a short practice activity every single morning, just before the first bell, perhaps.
So even that short daily burst helps keep the skill from deteriorating.
It helps enormously.
But let's go back to that preferred 2-period model because the source material had a brilliant strategy for this. Can you walk us through that timetable adjustment?
Yes, this is where we just look at the maths of the school day. So let's take a typical school. 8 periods, 40 minutes each. That's 320 instructional minutes.
Okay.
Now, the strategy is to make a small change. You extend the school day by just 20 minutes. So instead of finishing at 3.0, you maybe start at 8:50 and finish at 3.10.
Right, so you've gained 20 minutes of instructional time, but you'd need 40 minutes for a new period.
Well, what you do is aim for 9 periods in the day. To do that, you slightly reduce the length of every period. Instead of 40 minutes, you make them, say, 38 minutes each.
Wait, let me get this straight. By trimming just 2 minutes from every single lesson,
Which is time that's often lost to settling down or packing up anyway.
you suddenly create the capacity for a full 9th period slot.
You do. The maths works out. You gain a full period slot every day. That means you can easily schedule your 2 handwriting periods a week, and you also have 3 other slots for special classes, remediation, you name it.
That's genuinely transformative. It reframes the problem entirely.
It turns a scheduling problem into a strategic opportunity.
Okay, but then there's the teacher's workload. You can create the time, but principals will worry this just means more planning for already overworked staff. How does a system like Writewiz make it seamless?
That's the crucial part. The system has to do the heavy lifting, not the teacher. First, the curriculum is completely structured, grade-wise, from LKG all the way to class 12.
And it's relevant.
Very. From the second year, the writing exercises actually use content from the students' regular syllabus. So they're reinforcing their science or history knowledge while they practice.
And what about the teachers themselves? This is a specialized skill to teach.
They get specialized training. It's called GEM Teacher Training Grade Empowering Masters. It gets them completely comfortable with the methodology, the posture, the correction routines. They even get practice sheets to perfect their own board writing.
So there's consistency across the school.
That's the goal. And to make sure the skill transfers, there's a grading system that integrates handwriting evaluation into the regular workflow.
So a subject teacher also has a role in this.
Absolutely. The grade-write system for grades 1 to 5 ensures that. It drives home the point that better answers mean easier corrections. The student sees that legibility matters everywhere.
And the practical resources are all there. No one is inventing worksheets on a Tuesday morning.
Exactly. Teachers get everything. The student books, the writing kits, class posters with the 7 golden rules, correction stickers, it's all ready to deploy.
So if we step back and summarize for the administrator listening, the issue isn't really a lack of time. It's about recognizing this as an investment.
An investment that pays dividends in efficiency and academic success across the entire curriculum. You leverage 2 minutes here and there to gain a massive strategic advantage.
What's the final thought you'd leave them with?
The final decision line, I suppose, is this. If your school can find the time for assessments, for marking, and for all the corrections, which often means deciphering illegible work.
Then it can find the time to reduce that correction load in the first place.
Precisely. A system like Writewiz just helps you do it systematically.
An investment now saves hours of frustration later. A powerful thought. Thank you for guiding us through this.
It was a pleasure.
That was the deep dive. We hope this exploration into strategic timetable planning empowers you to make a lasting change for your students. We'll see you next time.